Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. There is a verse in the Quran so tremendous, so saturated with divine light, that the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, when asked which verse of the Quran is the greatest, did not hesitate. He answered without pause. He answered with certainty. He said it was Ayat Kursi, not because it is long, not because it is difficult, but because it contains within its few lines the entire architecture of who Allah is. And if you do not yet understand what that means for your life, for your protection, for your afterlife, then what you are about to hear may change everything you thought you knew about this verse you have perhaps been reciting since childhood. Before we go any further, tell us in the comments where you are watching this from. Whether you are in Makkah or Manchester, Cairo or Kuala Lumpur, Jakarta or New Jersey, drop your city and your country below, because this community spans every corner of this earth, and we want to know where you are joining us from. And if you have not yet subscribed to this channel, do it now. Every video we produce is designed to bring you closer to the words of Allah and the teachings of His Prophet. Press that subscribe button and turn on the bell. This is your reminder, and it may be the most important one you receive today. Now let us go deeper than most people ever go with Ayat Kursi. Most Muslims know it, many recite it, but very few truly sit with it word by word, meaning by meaning, until its layers unfold like a garden that never ends. The scholars of Islam have said that if you want to know Allah, truly know Him, not just know of Him, then you study this verse. Because Ayat Kursi is not merely a dua for protection, though it is that. It is not merely a recitation before sleep, though it serves that purpose. It is, in the truest sense, a window into the nature of the divine. And when you look through that window with open eyes and an open heart, nothing in your life will ever look the same again. Allah. The verse begins with a single word, a single name. And yet that single word is itself a universe. The scholars explain that the name Allah is not a common noun that can be pluralized or feminized. It is not a title. It is not a description. It is the proper name of the one being who has no beginning and no end. When the verse opens with Allah, it is demanding your full attention. It is saying, before anything else, before protection, before power, before the heavens and the earth, there is Allah. And from that single starting point, everything else flows. The verse does not ease you in gently. It does not warm up. It opens with a door, and that door leads directly into the presence of the Most High. La ilaha illa Huwa. There is no God but He. Say this slowly. Say it in your mind right now. La ilaha illa Huwa. This is not merely the first pillar of Islam. Within Ayat Kursi, it is a declaration of cosmic reality. It is the statement that cuts through every form of shirk, every form of polytheism, every form of false dependence that the human heart is prone to. There is no protector but He. There is no sustainer but He. There is no controller of the universe, of your breath, of the heartbeat in your chest, but He. The human being is forever tempted to find security in people, in money, in status, in power, in governments, in armies, and Ayat Kursi, in its very second phrase, dismantles all of that. La ilaha illa Huwa. When you say those words with awareness, you are releasing every false anchor and placing your full weight on the only one who never moves. Al-Hayyul Qayyum, the ever-living, the self-subsisting. These two names together form what many scholars call the greatest of all of Allah's names. Al-Hayy, the living. Not living the way you and I are living, borrowing our life from Him, dependent on oxygen and water and the beating of a heart that we did not create and cannot sustain. Al-Hayy is the living whose life has no source, no origin, no dependency. His life is not borrowed, it is intrinsic, it is absolute, it is eternal. And then Al-Qayyum, the self-subsisting, the one upon whom all of existence depends while He depends on nothing. Everything that exists, every atom, every galaxy, every thought in your mind, every cell in your body is being held in existence right now by Al-Qayyum, not once. Not at some moment in the past when he created things and then stepped back. Right now, in this instant, he is sustaining you. He is sustaining the chair you sit on. He is sustaining the air between your eyes and the words in front of you. Remove his sustenance for even a fraction of a second, and everything ceases. This is Al-Qayyum. And knowing this should produce in the believer a kind of awe that is indescribable, a trembling gratitude, a recognition that nothing in existence is truly independent except him. La ta'khuduhu sinatun wala naum. Neither drowsiness overtakes him nor sleep. Imam Al-Qurtubi, in his magnificent Tafsir, reflects on these words with great depth. He explains that these words are not merely a negation of physical limitation. They are a declaration of absolute, uninterrupted awareness. You and I, the best of us, the most attentive of us, we are subject to lapses. We tire. We sleep. We lose focus. We are distracted. The Surgeon General, the best general, the most devoted parent, the most vigilant guard, all of them must sleep. All of them must surrender to unconsciousness at some point, and in that surrender, they lose awareness, they lose control. But Allah, Al-Hayyul Qayyum, never lapses. There is not a single moment in the history of creation, from the moment he said, Kun, be, to the moment the trumpet will be blown, in which his awareness has slipped for even the duration of a heartbeat. Every leaf that falls, he knows. Every secret whispered in the darkest room, he hears. Every tear that falls in silence, he sees. La ta'khuduhu sinatun wala naum. Not even the first drowsiness, not the closing of the eye, not the beginning of a lapse, nothing. Now think about what this means for you personally. It means that right now, as you listen to these words, Allah is aware of you. Not in a general, broad, cosmic sense only. Specifically, you, your name, your condition, your fears, your du'as that you have made and that feel like they have gone unanswered. He has heard every single one. He was never asleep when you called. He was never distracted when you wept. La ta'khuduhu sinatun wa la naum. Your du'as were received by someone who was fully present, fully aware, and fully capable of answering. And if the answer has not come in the form you expected, it is not because he did not hear. It is because he knows something you do not. And that knowledge is a mercy, not a denial. Lahu ma fi al-samawati wa ma fi al-ard. To him belongs whatever is in the heavens and whatever is on the earth. Do not pass over this sentence too quickly. Stop here. Sit with this. Everything, everything, every tree and every mountain, every ocean and every grain of sand at the bottom of those oceans, every star in every galaxy, in every corner of this universe that telescopes have reached, and all the infinite space beyond what they can see, every angel that stands in permanent worship, every soul of every human being that has ever lived or will ever live, every creature, every force, every particle, all of it belongs to Allah. Not in the way that you own a house or a car where ownership is temporary and conditional, but in the absolute sense, the true sense, the only real sense. He is the owner of everything, which means that nothing in existence has any right over you that he does not grant. No person, no system, no power has any authority that is not subordinate to his. Lahu ma fi al-samawati wa ma fi al-ard. If you truly internalize this, fear of anyone other than Allah would become almost impossible. Because why would you fear the servant when you know the master? Man dalladhi yashfa'u indahu illa bi'idhni. Who is it that can intercede with him except by his permission? This is one of the most profound questions in the entire Quran, and it is posed here as a rhetorical declaration that has no answer other than no one. In the ancient Arab world, and indeed in the world before Islam, people would approach their idols, their false gods, believing that those idols could intercede. that if they prayed to them, offered to them, those intermediaries would go to the divine on their behalf. And the Quran had been dismantling this concept from the beginning. But here, in Ayat Kursi, it is dismantled with a single question. Who can intercede? Who can stand before the King of Kings and demand anything? No one. Not an angel, no matter how great. Not a prophet, no matter how beloved. Not Jibreel, who carried the revelation. Not Ibrahim, who was called the friend of Allah. Not even our Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, whose station is the highest of all creation. None of them intercede except by his permission. And he gives that permission to whom he wills, when he wills, under conditions he sets. This should destroy every false hope and redirect every desperate longing back to the one who actually holds the key. Do not go through intermediaries. Do not worship saints. Do not beg the dead. Go directly to him. He hears you. He is closer to you than your jugular vein, as he tells us elsewhere in his book. Go to Al-Hayyul Qayyum, directly, sincerely, and with certainty that he hears. يَعْلَمُ مَا بَيْنَ أَيْدِهِمْ وَمَا خَلْفَهُمْ. He knows what is before them and what is behind them. Ibn Kathir, the great scholar of Tafsir, explains in his commentary that this refers to both the future and the past, or, in another interpretation, what the creation is aware of and what it is not aware of. In either reading, the meaning is the same in its impact. There is no aspect of existence, no dimension of time, no hidden corner of reality that falls outside his knowledge. He knew you before you were born. He knows the thoughts forming in your mind before they crystallize into words. He knows the end of a matter before it begins. And this knowledge is not passive, like a recording, like a database. His knowledge is active and alive and direct. He does not know about things the way a scientist knows about a distant star, through instruments and inference and delay. He knows directly, completely, immediately. And he knew what would happen to you before he created the heavens and the earth. The Prophet, peace be upon him, told us in a hadith reported in Sahih Muslim that Allah decreed the measures of all of creation 50,000 years before he created the heavens and the earth. Your provision, your trials, your moments of ease, your moments of grief, they were written. And they were written by the one who loves you more than your mother loves you. The Prophet said this explicitly. Allah has more mercy for his servants than a mother has for her child. So whatever is written for you, it was written by mercy, not by indifference. وَلَا يُحِيطُنَا بِشَيْءٍ مِّنْ عِلْمِهِ إِلَّا بِمَا شَاءَ. And they encompass not a thing of his knowledge except for what he wills. The creation, all of it combined, angels, humans, jinn, all the scholars, all the prophets, all the minds of all time, they encompass only what Allah has chosen to reveal to them. The total sum of human knowledge, every book ever written, every discovery ever made, every scientific breakthrough, every philosophical insight, it is all a drop from an ocean that has no shore. And that ocean is the knowledge of Allah. There is no humiliation in this. There is comfort in this. It means you do not need to understand everything. You do not need to have answers to every question. You do not need to know why something happened. You only need to know that He knows, and that His knowledge is bound with His mercy, and that nothing slips through, nothing is overlooked, nothing is mishandled. The one who knows everything is also the one who owns everything and sustains everything and never sleeps. Rest in that. Wasi'a kursiyuhu samawati wal ard. His kursi extends over the heavens and the earth. The scholars have extensively discussed what the kursi, the throne mentioned here, actually is. There is a narration attributed to Ibn Abbas, the great companion and scholar, in which he stated that the kursi is the footstool and that it relates to the arsh, the throne, in the way that a small ring thrown into a vast desert relates to that desert. Meaning the kursi itself, which already encompasses the heavens and the earth, is itself dwarfed by the arsh. and the Arsh is the greatest of all created things. Now consider what the verse is saying. The Kursi of Allah, not the Arsh, not the ultimate throne, but a lesser structure in comparison, already encompasses all the heavens and the earth. And what are the heavens and the earth? 7 heavens, each one above the other. The distances between them so vast that if you dropped a rock from the first heaven to the earth, it would travel 500 years. 7 heavens stacked in that way. And above them, structures and realities our minds cannot hold. And all of it, fits within the Kursi. And the Kursi is to the Arsh as a ring in a desert. Who is the owner of the Arsh? Allah. Al-Hayyul Qayyum. La ilaha illa Huwa. Now go back to your fear. Your worry about your job. Your fear about your health. Your anxiety about your children. Your grief over what you have lost. Place it against this verse. Place it before this king. And feel how small the problem is. Not because it does not matter, but because the one you are placing it before is beyond all magnitude. He is not just bigger than your problem. He is so far beyond any framework of size that the comparison itself collapses. وَلَا يَعُودُهُ حِفْظُهُمَا. And their preservation tires him not. He does not experience fatigue in preserving the heavens and the earth. Every orbit, every atom in place, every law of physics held constant, every mountain pinned to the earth, every sea restrained at its boundary, every life sustained, every heart kept beating, all of it, all at once, continuously, and it costs him nothing, not even the slightest effort, not even the beginning of a burden. Imam al-Ghazali, in his reflections on the names of Allah, writes that human beings understand power through the lens of effort. When we see someone do something difficult, we attribute power to them. When we see someone lift something heavy, we say they are strong. But strength for humans always involves effort, always involves the possibility of failure and fatigue. Allah's power is of a different category entirely. What for us would be impossible does not become merely easy for him. It does not even register as anything at all. The preservation of the entire universe is not an effort. It is simply his will continuously expressed. Wa huwa al-Aliyyul Azim. And he is the Most High, the Most Great. These are the closing words of Ayat Kursi. And how perfect they are as a closing. After everything the verse has established, after Al-Hayy and Al-Qayyum, after the Kursi that spans the heavens and earth, after the uninterrupted awareness and the absolute knowledge and the exclusive ownership of all things, the verse closes with Al-Ali, the Most High, and Al-Azim, the Most Great. Al-Ali speaks to his transcendence. He is above everything, above your imagination, above the angels, above the Arsh, above any concept your mind can form. There is a height here that is not physical, but ontological. He is above in every sense. And Al-Azim, the Most Great, the one whose greatness cannot be measured, cannot be calculated, cannot be fully expressed by any tongue or pen. And this is how the verse ends, not with a command, not with a warning, but with a reminder of who he is, Al-Aliyyul Azim. After telling you all of this, he simply says, remember who you are speaking about. Now we must talk about the power of Ayat Kursi in practice. Because it is one thing to understand it intellectually. It is another to understand what the Prophet, peace be upon him, told us it does. In Sahih al-Bukhari, one of the most famous and authenticated narrations in all of Islamic tradition, Abu Huraira, may Allah be pleased with him, reported that the Prophet, peace be upon him, placed him in charge of guarding the zakah of Ramadan. A stranger came 3 nights in a row, each time attempting to steal. Each time Abu Huraira caught him. On the 3rd night, the stranger said, let me teach you something that will benefit you. He said, when you go to your bed, recite Ayat Kursi, for then a guardian from Allah will be appointed over you and Shaitan will not approach you until morning. When Abu Huraira told the Prophet what had happened, the Prophet, peace be upon him, said that the stranger had told the truth even though the stranger was a liar. The stranger was Shaitan himself. And even Shaitan admitted under pressure what this verse does. It keeps him away. It places an angel over you. It creates a barrier of protection that the enemy of all humanity cannot cross. This is not folklore. This is not superstition. This is in Sahih al-Bukhari, the most rigorously authenticated hadith collection in existence. The verse that describes who Allah is becomes a fortress around you when you say it with conviction and awareness. In another hadith, narrated in Sunan at-Tirmidhi, the Prophet, peace be upon him, said that whoever recites Ayat Kursi after every obligatory prayer, there is nothing standing between him and entering paradise except death. Nothing except death. Think about this. Every single obligatory prayer 5 times a day, you recite Ayat Kursi after finishing, and the path to Jannah, to paradise, is cleared. Not because the recitation is a magic formula, but because the one who recites it after every prayer is the one who prays every prayer. The one who stays connected to those words is the one who stays connected to the reality those words describe. And the person who truly understands who Allah is, truly knows His names and attributes, that person's heart is naturally oriented toward Him. Their choices, their priorities, their relationships, all of it is colored by that knowledge. And that orientation is what leads to paradise. But there is something we must address. Many Muslims recite Ayat Kursi every day. Many have memorized it since childhood. And yet the verse has not changed their relationship with Allah. And the reason is not the verse. The reason is recitation without presence. In Arabic, there is a concept called Hudur al-Qalb, the presence of the heart. It refers to the state of being fully aware of what you are saying and doing in worship. The scholars of the heart, Imam al-Ghazali foremost among them, wrote extensively about how the tongue can move and the heart can be completely absent. And when the heart is absent, the words leave the mouth but they do not enter the sky. This does not mean that recitation without full understanding is worthless. The barakah, the blessing, is still present. But the transformative power, the power that changes a person from the inside, the power that makes Ayat Kursi not just a habit but a relationship, that power requires presence. It requires that even for the 30 or 40 seconds it takes to recite this verse, you are here. You are with the words. You are aware of who you are speaking about. Allah, Al-Hayyul Qayyum, the one who never sleeps, the one who knows what you did before you were born, the one whose kursi spans all of creation. Be present with this, and the verse will do what it was always capable of doing. Let us also speak about the timing of recitation, because the Prophet, peace be upon him, was specific. Ayat Kursi after every obligatory prayer. Ayat Kursi before sleep. And scholars have emphasized Ayat Kursi in moments of fear, in moments of distress, in moments when the darkness feels close and the light feels far. There is a narration in Musnad Ahmad in which Asma bint Yazid, may Allah be pleased with her, reported that the Prophet, peace be upon him, said that these 2 ayahs, the end of Surah Al-Baqarah, Amana al-Rasulu, and the verses following, were given to the Prophet from beneath the throne. And Ayat Kursi, which opens Surah Al-Baqarah's great concluding section, carries that same weight. These are verses that descended from the divine presence directly. When you recite them, you are connecting yourself through a chain of light all the way back to the moment the angel Jibreel delivered these words to the blessed heart of the Prophet, peace be upon him, in the cave, in the mosque, in the night, in the day. That chain has not been broken. And every time a believer recites these words with sincerity, they join that chain. Now let us speak about what Ayat Kursi does to the heart of the believer over time. If you recite it with awareness, if you study its meanings, if you let it teach you about Allah, it gradually dismantles the things in your heart that do not belong there. The fear of people shrinks. not because people cease to matter, but because the fear of Allah, the correct fear, the majestic awe of Him, takes up so much space that lesser fears cannot compete. The anxiety about provision, about the future, about things you cannot control, it loosens. Not because life becomes easy, but because you know now that the one who controls everything never sleeps, never tires, never misses anything. The despair that sometimes creeps in when dua seems unanswered, that despair is replaced by a trust that is not naive, but informed. Informed by the knowledge that He knows what is before you and what is behind you. He sees the full picture. He sees the destination you cannot see from where you stand. And He is Al-Hayyul Qayyum, the living, the self-subsisting, who is not indifferent but actively sustaining you, actively aware of you, actively involved in the details of your life in a way no human being can ever be. The Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, once asked his companion Ubay ibn Ka'b, "May Allah be pleased with him, which verse of the Book of Allah is the greatest?" Ubay said, "Allah and His Messenger know best." The Prophet repeated the question, and Ubay said, "Ayat Kursi." The Prophet placed his hand on his companion's chest and said, "May knowledge be easy for you, O Abu Mundhir." He validated the answer with that gesture of blessing. And this narration, found in Sahih Muslim, tells us something important. The question was not asked in a vacuum. The Prophet knew the answer. He was teaching Ubay. He was teaching us. He was drawing our attention across 14 centuries to one verse, among 6,000 plus verses. One verse. He selected this one as the greatest. Not the greatest in length, not the greatest in legal content. The greatest because of what it contains about Allah Himself. And when you understand that, you understand that the study of this verse is not a side project for the deeply devoted. It is the foundation. It is the beginning of knowing Allah. And knowing Allah is the purpose of existence. Allah tells us in a Hadith Qudsi, reported in Sahih al-Bukhari and Sahih Muslim, that He says, "I am as my servant thinks of me." If you think of Allah as distant, as uncaring, as angry, as unknowable, your experience of faith will reflect that. But if you think of Him as Al-Hayyul Qayyum, the living who never sleeps, who is always aware, always sustaining, always close, your faith takes on a completely different texture. It becomes warm. It becomes personal. It becomes a relationship rather than a performance. And Ayat Kursi, perhaps more than any other single verse, has the capacity to correct the image of Allah in the heart, because it describes Him with precision and with beauty. It removes the distortions. It removes the false ideas. It replaces them with truth. And when the truth about Allah settles in the heart of a believer, that heart begins to live differently. It begins to trust differently. It begins to pray differently. Not out of habit, not out of social expectation, but out of genuine love and awe for the one who is Al-Aliyyul Azim. Scholars throughout Islamic history have devoted entire books to Ayat Kursi. Imam al-Qurtubi wrote about it with extraordinary depth in his Tafsir al-Jami' li Ahkam al-Quran. Ibn Kathir analyzed it with his characteristic precision in Tafsir Ibn Kathir. Ibn al-Qayyim, the student of Ibn Taymiyyah, referenced it repeatedly in his works on the heart and on the names of Allah. The reason all these giants return to this verse again and again is because it does not exhaust itself. Every visit yields something new. Every return brings a deeper layer, and that is the nature of the words of Allah. They are not like human words, which you read once and fully understand. They are living. They are alive the way Al-Hayy is alive. They reveal more of themselves as the reader grows. As your life deepens, as your experience widens, as your understanding of yourself and of creation grows, you return to Ayat Kursi, and it speaks to you differently. It has a different answer for the young person just discovering faith, a different answer for the person in grief, a different answer for the person in joy, a different answer for the scholar and for the layperson. It is, in the truest sense, a verse for every human being at every moment of their journey. There is something that must be said about the relationship between Ayat Kursi and the experience of death. The scholars of Islam, drawing from various narrations, have written that the dying person who has Ayat Kursi on their lips, who carries it in their heart, whose tongue has been accustomed to its words throughout their life, such a person meets death differently. The Prophet, peace be upon him, told us that the one who dies and their last words are La ilaha illallah, that person enters paradise. And Ayat Kursi opens with that reality, La ilaha illa Huwa. The person who has lived with this verse, who has allowed it to shape their understanding of who Allah is, that person does not face death as an ending, but as a transition. A transition from the domain of Al-Qayyum expressed through the material world to Al-Qayyum expressed directly. Because even in death, He sustains. Even in the grave, He is present. Even on the day when the trumpet is blown and all of creation stands before Him, He will be Al-Hayyul Qayyum, the ever-living, unchanged, while everything else is resurrected and transformed. And on that day, the one who knew this verse truly, who let it reshape their heart, who recited it in prayer and before sleep and in fear and in gratitude, that person will recognize the one who stands before them as the judge and the king. And that recognition will be the most precious thing they ever possessed. So let this be a commitment, not just to recite Ayat Kursi, but to study it. Take one phrase at a time. Take Al-Hayyul Qayyum and sit with it for a week. Let it follow you into your morning and your night. Ask yourself throughout your day, what does it mean that Al-Qayyum is sustaining this moment right now? What does it mean that Al-Hayy is the source of the life moving through me? Then move to the next phrase. La ta'khuduhu sinatun wala nawm. Sit with the idea that in every moment of your life, including the moments you felt most alone, most forgotten, most desperate, He was watching, not absent. Watching, fully present, fully aware, never distracted. Build your relationship with this verse the way you would build a relationship with a person you love. Slowly, attentively, returning again and again. And what you will find over months and over years is that the verse has not changed, but you have. And the change will be toward Him. It will always be toward Him. Because that is what His words do. They do not leave you where they found you. They move you. They elevate you. Wasi'a kursiyyuhu samawati wal ard. His kursi spans the heavens and the earth. And for the believer who truly knows this verse, that kursi also spans every corner of their heart. We ask Allah, Al-Hayyul Qayyum, to make us among those who recite Ayat Kursi with presence and with understanding. We ask Him to protect us and our families through this blessed verse, as He has promised through the words of His messenger, peace be upon him. We ask Him to grant us the shade of His arsh on the day when there is no shade but His. We ask Him to make our last words, La ilaha illallah. We ask Him to unite us with our Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, at the Hawd, the blessed pond, and to grant us the highest levels of paradise. Allahumma ameen, ameen, ameen. May the peace and blessings of Allah be upon you and upon your families, wherever in this world you are watching from.